Okay, Success Nation, this is your host Michael Nguyen from Asian Success Show, where successful entrepreneur show you how to build companies and achieve success. I'm so excited to have one guest today, Mrs. Nam Do. He's currently CEO of C Space, and he's the mastermind behind in-air technology, which overlays internet content on the TV screen and transform TV into astonishing minority report-like experience. And prior to C-Space, he was the co-founder and CEO of Emotive, world leader in brain-computer interface technologies. Back in 2007, he was voted as one of Australian top 10 entrepreneurs. And Nam, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Are you prepared to inspire?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you so much. Okay, I've given our listener just an overview about you, Nam. So take a minute and tell us a little bit about you personally because we want to get to know you, and then give us an overview about your business.
Okay. So about myself, I actually born and raised in Vietnam, in Hanoi, Vietnam, and I came to Australia first in 1995 for university. I was part of the scholarship program that the Australian government gave to Vietnamese students with excellence, academic ability. So at the last year of my university, I started my first company. During it's kind of that's right at the end of the .com area, and the first company called SASME Australia was SASME is stand for Scan and Send Mobile E-commerce, and it's later become the first SMPP platform provider in the world, and we got quite a few success in Australia, and then we exit the company in 2003 when I started Emotive with three other co-founders. Emotive went on to become right now the world largest brain-computer interface company. We have a lot of success. Starting 2007, 2008, when we announced our revolutionary product that allow you to control your computer with your brainwave as well as reading your emotional and expression. So after 10 years of with Emotive, in 2013, last year, I started a new company with two other co-founder. One is Dale Harristad, who is a four-time Emmy Award winner, and Jerry Gamalia, who is used to be the former CMO of Pepsi and then president of E-Trade. So we started the company with a view of changing the way television has been for the past 50 years. So as you know, that's television has changed a lot, but the interaction still stay very passive. So what we're trying to do is the way I said it is that especially young people, we all survive on links, right? So how many links you actually click a day, and we cannot live without links these days, and television just don't give us any links. So what we want to do is we want to put links back to the television, and we want to be, instead of all the giant companies like Google or Apple trying to deliver content to the back of the space at the back of your screen, which is basically the content space. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bring the internet and make it live in front of the television screen, and it's all about relevant content and allow users and viewers to be multitasking and while watching TV, which we all do. Like 80% of us on our second screen device multitasking while watching television this day. And so what we're trying to do is actually to make the internet live in that space in front of the television, to allow you to be able to interact with all the content and multitasking, and hopefully that would help change how we interact with television in the future.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. And uh, so at my show, I start the show with the guest favorite success quote. It's a way of getting the motivational ball rolling for the audience. So now, what is your favorite success quote, and how do you apply it to your everyday life?
Yeah, so there's there's a the quote that I talk when I talk to younger, like entrepreneurs starting out, I use a lot is that don't be stingy with your dream, right? So it's that what we try to set out to do, and that's how I always live my life with that quote is that from a just a humble student going abroad for university when I first started out. Three of my company has always been about changing the way people, like a huge industry. The first one would be how you'll be able to send SMS text message, right, to an application that actually change the way how we communicate using cell phones. So it's the industry is telecommunication. We're trying to change the way people use different tools, even technology, in a very well established industry and and make things better. So all of the American Idol voting that you can see today, this is all because we were part of that revolution.
Gotcha. And your background is very interesting. So your background is in strategic planning and management. But how did you get into the hardware business and hardware and gadget business?
Yes, so that's actually interesting because back in Vietnam, I was in the student for gifted, school for gifted students, and focusing on mathematics and physics, and that's how I got a top mark in the entrance exam into university, and I got a scholarship to Australia. In Australia, all of my friends is kind of coming from the same background, so they all go into computer science. I'm actually starting out as studying architecture for the first 3 years before I changed to more strategic planning side because that's where I enjoy it more. And but throughout the time I was in Australia, I was always kind of involved with different technology projects that my friends was doing. And develop a huge interest for technology, and it's all about I realized that technology actually is the most powerful tool to actually change people's life. If you kind of growing up in the 90s, you can see that transactions, the transition that moved from a very non-tech environment to everything is dictated by technology. So that's how it got me involved into technology and stuff like that.
So you love science, you're very good at math and physics, but you chose to study management. And what was the first spark in technology that made you realize, hey, technology help people change life? And then you decide to take a little bit interest in technology besides studying uh, management.
Yes, so I guess that I realized that not in a kind of a grown up way. Back when I was still at high school, when I first got my computer, I think I was 1991. That's when I first got my computer, and it was very early. If you live in Vietnam in the 90s, in 91, there's not that many computers. Right, so that's when I start to pick up, programming because I want to do, just like any other programmers doing games and trying to create little programs. And that's when I realized that, okay, so all of the things that I've seen from the computer can be programmed, and it's changed the way that we do things a lot, right? So that's how I get really hooked to the computer, and I guess that from then on, even in my study at university, I always trying to use technology to make my like a strategic planning cost easier, and it's always been my style of doing things, even from the smallest things like the presentation. I'll start using Flash, for example, back in the late 90s. So it's actually be able to see that result of your work is much better than other people who don't use technology. That's makes me think about, like, okay, now, and it just naturally flow into when you start your first company. It's all about, okay, now how you solve a problem that is not being solved, and then technology is the kind of the only resource that you have as a student, because you don't have money, you don't have experience, you don't have anything, right? So the only thing that it forces you to use technology and try to solve a problem, and I guess that's how I got into technology.
Let's go back a little bit. When you first started Emotive, what was the aha moment that led you to that venture?
It's actually a very interesting story, because after SASME, we got, in Australia, we kind of, a little bit, I wouldn't say famous, but well known within the industry. And so part of that, I got a chance to go and speak at different conferences where I met, Professor Alan Snyder, the one who, he pretty much come up with the theory behind the optical fiber, right? And at the time, Alan was doing research on autistic savant, so people with who do not really have a mental problem, but then they also have a crazy ability, like drawing very well or things like that. So I was really intrigued about his research. So I went to University of Sydney for many times, watching Alan's and following his kind of research. And one day we talked um, over a dinner at Alan, which lasts until like 4 o'clock in the morning, and we talk about how. And Alan talked about how our brain had two sides: a conscious mind and a non-conscious mind, right? And the non-conscious part of our brain is even more powerful than the conscious part. And like things like emotion, for example, will come from a non-conscious part of the brain. So at the time I talked to Alan, I said that, okay, maybe the last 10 years are all about DSP, which is digital signal processing. And the future has to be ESP, which is, emotional signal processing, right? So that's how we decided that, okay, that's such a great idea. We should, start exploring how we were to do that. And then we pour money into it and then start, developing the technology. And based on Alan's research, and he already proved that there's a non-conscious part of the brain, so this is very much focused on the non-conscious part of the brain. And when we be able to actually crack the code in a way that, unfold the cortex of the brain and map the signal back to the original source, and be able to, the first thing was just a very simple excited or non-excited. So you show them something and you'll be able to tell whether they get excited or not. That was the first aha moment for me at Emotive.
And okay, gotcha. And from then, how long did you take you to finish the first prototype of Emotive?
Emotive was started in December 2003, and we self-funded the company until October 2005. That's when we first take VC money, and so it's almost 2 years, kind of behind closed door, without telling anyone. So it's a lot of work. And then after that, not until 2008 that when we actually launched our first product. So it's about 5 years in
Wow.
development. It's a lot of well, we have a large team of scientists in Australia and a large team of engineering in the state, in San Francisco. So there's a lot of work, because you're starting from pretty much from ground zero, right? And then you have to build up from the scientific research and then convert it into a technology layer. So not just applying existing technology, but create everything from scratch.
So you use the financial success from SASME to fund your Emotive.
Yeah, so in a way, I was very lucky, because my first business, I got some success, so we have some money to be able to fund the second business. But also, one of the co-founder at Emotive, Dr. Neil Westy, he the time that we started Emotive, he actually just sold his company for a much larger amount than mine. He sold his company for close to $1 billion to Cisco, right? And so he also another successful from a financial point of view. So we were able to kind of indulge in our own research for a couple of years before we need before proof of concept, and we need a lot of money to actually do a product app. And in a way, it's similar to C-Space that when I decided to leave Emotive and form C-Space, myself and Dale Henry started the three original founder also had successful business before, right? So Dale just sold his company to WPP, and his company was called I think now it's Possible Worldwide. It's just, one of the large brand of WPP, and he was the chief creative officer for that brand. So he's very famous in Hollywood. Had a successful exit. Jerry, it's a very well known executive. He joined E-Trade when it was like 40 people, and then built it into I think it's $1.40 billion company, right, within 6 years. So so we're lucky in a way that all of our founder has some success before, that we'll be able to not depend too much on investment at the early stage of the company.
In the span of 10 years with Emotive, what are some of the lessons that you learned and which you might share with the audience?
It's actually a lot. A lot of those, Harvard actually did Harvard Business School did a case study on Emotive. And it's been widely taught within Harvard Business School and Stanford and many other business schools, right? So that will be a very interesting paper to look at. But but I think that so many lessons that you learn when you're doing startup, especially with how you'll be able to manage something that's so far out, because it's always about innovation, is always about new things, right? And when you started out, nobody will believe you, because it's if they all believe in the same thing, it's probably already on the market for 2-3 years, right? So it's all about how you be able to get support for your vision, because for me, one man, regardless of how great he is, can only make probably himself and probably maximum his family being comfortable, right? But to be able to do anything more than that, you need a collective support from a lot of people, from a money side, from investor side, from legal side, from everything, from the technology and everything. So I guess that how you be able to your success is measured by how many people actually want to support you.
What were your experience when you ran the Kickstarter campaign for Emotive?
Yeah, the first day we got $500,000. We ended up with 1.7 million. And yes, in a way, it's a very
well, back then, did you have the proof of concept for Emotive and to show on Kickstarter?
Yes, because Emotive, we launched the technology in 2008.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of followers. Anybody is actually now the official platform that being used in all of the brain research institutes. So we have a very large following. Like I said, we have over 100,000 developers worldwide, right? For the main first version of Emotive. The Emotive inside is more about consumer and wearable technology that we release. So in a way, we expect that we're going to do very well on Kickstarter, because the amount of fans that we have around the world. So it's not really a big surprise for us. So it's more about how can we push this number to be higher and higher, rather than we would expect to reach a million, right? Before we launch Kickstarter. So when we do it, it's 1.7 million. It was actually a good campaign, but it's not like now it's a big surprise.
All right. At what point of Emotive that you started, hey, we got to Tell the world about it. You said that you spent 2 years closed door to develop the technology and doing research. And at what point is that you kind of open a little bit for the public to get to know about your project?
Yeah, so actually that was one of the debate that we have in the early day as well, because it's always chicken and the egg, right? So you always want to perfect the technology before you tell the world, but at the same time, if you don't tell enough people, you don't have the support to be able to
That's right.
to that point. So the first time we actually showing the technology to outsider of Emotive is actually 2007 or 2006 at GDC in early 2006. We show it behind closed door to attract more people to support the company. So we have Ed Freeze who's on our board, which used to be he's the co-founder of Xbox. He ran Microsoft game studio and things like that. So he's been bringing in people from the gaming industry in to see the sneak peek of the technology. And so that's the first time we actually trying to gain support from the outside, the outsider. 1 year later, in 2007, we actually have a small booth of showing the concept with the technology, but the demo is still behind closed door. And not until 2008 when we actually have a really big, actually quite a big launch. It was definitely the biggest thing at GDC in 2008. And we have close to 1,000 reporters in one room and to an announcement of the technology and things like that. So yeah, so that 2008 is when you actually be public about what we do. But before that, we're showing it starting 2006.
Interesting. You helped ran the company for 10 years, and what was the reason that you left the company and led to the birth of C-Space?
Yeah, so like I said, for me, it's always about innovation. It's always about doing the next big things, and is I take pride in changing the way people traditionally doing their business. So after 10 years, Emotive has grown from being a startup into a more corporate kind of environment when you have I wouldn't say that we have less innovation, but I would like to be involved in the creation of things rather than
running the management.
The management part. And as a CEO of a company, my job has been too much of a management, to my taste. And I always like to be involved more with the team, with the scientific team, understand, how to grow the technology much better. And when you in a kind of a company that raises a lot of money, and as a CEO, your job is actually very much focused on your shareholders, your bottom lines, so that is actually when I said that. And it actually is one point of a aha moment when I go back to Australia and sit down with the team, with the scientific team, and I have no idea what they talk about. That's the moment when I said, okay, now this is a company that I created, and now I start to see, not to understand what they're talking about in my own product. So that's when I said, okay, now maybe it's time for to start something new, because this is I always try to follow my passion.
And
I'm an artist at heart, so and it's happened. It's funny because it's happened at the same time that is June of 2012 when I was invited to present at Google Zeitgeist, Google event, very exclusive event in London. With all the top world thinker like Bill Clinton were there, Eric Smith and two founders and things like that. They're very small, but 200 people, but all of the very famous world thinker, right? And that's where I reconnect with Dale, who living in London, and we talk about our vision about television of tomorrow, and how excited with the internet coming in, and how the over-the-top market is start to developing and things like that. So you can actually bypass a lot of things and deliver the experience that people really craving for. So that is keep developing into an ideas of C-Space, and then we decided to start the company in March 2013. It's actually just over a year ago. Yeah.
Excellent. With your background in emotive, more like a brain interface technology, what what's so special about the TV transforming TV experience that caught your attention so much that you decided to go forward?
I guess that is, that's not being an engineer helped me to see, the market in a very different way. So if you see three of my businesses in a completely different space, right? So the first one was telecom, the second one was brain-computer interface, and the third one is television. So I guess that that I'm more of a technology entrepreneur rather than an engineer. So my view on different things is always from an entrepreneur point of view. And I think that what's intrigued me about television is Dale and I have been very close with each other in terms, we always try to hang out when we're in the same cities, right? Because we have the same love for rich media, so we always about, being, like I said, I started out as an architect. I studied architecture in Australia for the first 3 years before I changed to strategic planning. So for me, it's all about rich media, and I see the success of an iPhone, and it's all about rich media. It's all about rich animation and everything. It's just makes sense, and I was so frustrated with television. That's why I don't watch TV anymore, because you cannot do anything about TV. You don't have links. You don't have that slick of a. Although the content is super slick, a lot slicker than the content that you see on the phone or the tablet, right? Because it's been there for 50 years. The actual television technology is not that slick, which is, in our opinion, I always thought that is something that is actually stopped the interaction of television. Smart TV is the first crack of it, but it's all the TV manufacturing, but they don't really deliver the richness of interaction that or animation, that media that the TV audience that used to. So I guess that is, so I developed a huge interest of how television, and everybody knows that television is still a huge,
Right.
it's a huge power, in every country, right? So I think that is, it's time for television to change, and everyone know that, and so that's it's just part of the evolution of television, and I think that it's the right time for it, when the audience is ready, the content provider is ready, the TV manufacturer, technology side is ready. So I think you'll see a lot of change in the next 5 to 10 years for television.
Now let's talk about the after 6 months when you and Dell were constantly talking about and exchanging ideas. Share your experience about from whatever on paper until the first prototype. What happened between that time?
Yes, so we actually, my style is very practical, so I would just, and Dale was the same, so we would just discuss and start sketching out the concept straight away, right? So for us, the vision is all about owning the space in front of the television. And we want to make the internet live in it. And we already know that to be able to make the internet live in it, it's not about either TV or internet, because it's proven to be not successful with smart TV. The current smart TV you have is either internet or TV, right? So it has to be the two things at the same time. So you have to be able to put, layers on top of your television. And so we start kind of sketch out the concept from day one. So we would use Keynote to be able to to do all the interaction and stuff like that. And I've started hiring a very small team to actually try to program it in a demo in a way so that we can actually feel the interaction and stuff like that. And so it's not really as much of a conversation as about, we always have something concrete to work on. And Keynote is great for that because you can kind of model the whole thing on Keynote before it's actually going into a technology.
Steve Jobs must be very happy when you said using Keynote to create another innovative product.
Yeah, it's a great product. It's a great product. It's like I said, I mean, I think that Steve Jobs is the one in the telco business that understand rich media. So that's how we got on our iPhone. We changed everything, right? I mean, so so I think that he must be very happy, and that's why all his product is all about rich media, rich animation, and things like that. Which all the tiny, minute detail makes a huge difference. People just don't understand it, especially like a lot of the engineer in the Bay Area. It's all about functionality, right? It's not, and Steve Jobs, why he's great because apart from understand all the functionality like other engineers and technologists, he understands the power of rich media.
And for the case of C-Space, and you were again in a good financial position to fund the whole project from start until you get the the second successful Kickstarter campaign.
Yes, that actually. I always said that you need luck, right? And this is one of our lucks is that for some reason I always end up with co-founder that has previous successful business, right? And that including myself. So it helps. It really helps because the first time I started out as a student is much different. It's a lot harder, and I totally understand. All the founders starting out with nothing is a really hard road to at the beginning when you actually have to try to convey to do put a concrete technology into a vision, right? And everything it takes resources and it helps if you actually it's not really a lot of money at the beginning, but it's still to be able to have some. And be able to build out your vision it's always nicer.
What experience did you apply successfully to C-Space from what you learned in Emotive?
I guess it's a lot of it is due to my experience at Emotive, right? Because it's first of all you have to say that how you kind of make a vision a reality, right? Because it's very hard. Working with technology is one of the most challenging things is that you only know that you are on the wrong track until it's too late, right? So so it's actually be able to. It's a kind of a balancing act with how you go about and create the technology, and that's one of the most important things. From a hardware point of view, I learned a lot from Emotive business as well. When we kind of have, we also have a hardware business now. We have to create software and hardware combination to make a successful product, and that is a very unique kind of situation with Emotive and C-Space as well, right? A lot of the companies in the software space, a lot of the companies in the hardware space, we actually had to come up from the ground up with new hardware and new software at the same time. So that's really a very valuable experience that I gained from 10 years at Emotive.
So at Emotive, you combine both hardware and software with the introduction of API and all the apps, and same thing that you want to try to bring the same experience with C-Space.
Yes, that's correct.
And interesting. How did you plan to monetize it? By you just selling the hardware, or
there's two prong of approach on the business side. One is a pure consumer approach, which, like as you can see from our Kickstarter, which is the start of the consumer approach, where we have an HDMI, smart HDMI adapter in a way, right? And showing and then showing it to the market and let people buying it and plug into any TV and turn your TV into a linear TV. And the second approach is more on a business side. The ultimate aim of the technology is to be in every TV, right? So we want to bring it inside the set-top box. We want to bring it inside the television. So we kind of working with chipset manufacturer, television manufacturer to actually embed the technology inside the television. So later on, if we be able to achieve that vision, then all you need to do is an app on the phone that you double tap on the screen that bring up the whole interface that you can start, multitasking. So that's the long-term aims. But currently, from a consumer point of view, there's still about 1.5 billion television in the world that just don't have those capability yet. So there's a huge market for that plug-in adapter, and it's very important that is at the beginning you have that kind of support, because it shows the demands from the market. It's also avoid all the complication with dealing with different content issues, and television issue, because you actually sit outside of their realm, right? So it's not part of the, it's an add-on to the ecosystem in a way. It's in the home, which people already have the right to all the content. They choose to do whatever they want. So it's a much easier and a lot less barrier entry to go that route.
Why did you pick Vietnam as R&D as your R&D office?
Yes, because a lot of people don't realize that Vietnam has a lot of talent, right? And being born and raised in Vietnam and go overseas, work for Emotive for like 10 years in Silicon Valley. We actually, at Emotive, I started to explore the option of having a technical team in Vietnam in 2010. In the last 2 years before I started C-Space, I actually gained, that's another experience I gained from Emotive. I actually gained a lot of experience in how to pick the best of the best in the talent in the country, and how to be able to work with them, because this is culture different, and I'm lucky in a way. I'm Vietnamese, so it's actually helped to be able to kind of build a team. So I realized that there's a lot of raw talent in Vietnam. What they don't have is really the exposure, right? And to be able to the things about product is that it's very hard to describe when you don't have any experience, right? So that part is what I have working in Silicon Valley for so long. So if I'll be able to bring that experience and exposure and work with the best in the States and around the world with the support from a Vietnamese engineering team, I think that we will be able to do it. And on top of that, there's so many incentive that you can advantage that you can have with cost being one of those, right? It's actually at a startup level. In the Silicon Valley, you're probably going to spend a lot of money to be able to prototype something out, right? This is something that we could do very smartly and inexpensively in a country like Vietnam.
So, what worked and what did not work for you when you run the operation at C-Space?
So far, I think that I'm lucky in a way that everything so far worked pretty well. As you can see, the company is only a year old, and we've been we're achieving a lot of things. And 100% of our engineering team is in Vietnam, so it's a statement to their ability, right? Even that would be even super fast compared to Silicon Valley standard.
Wow.
Look what we achieved, and with a 12-month period when we start the company last year, And what we achieved today is, with a team of 10 people, even for Silicon Valley standard, is a very fast project. So I think that so far I'm very happy with all the progress. It's all about how we're going to get, millions of units out there. And that would, the answer is actually lie in the future.
Excellent. So did you also become like a CTO as well to guide the development team in Vietnam to write all the API and stuff?
Yes, so that's what you learn in startup is that you have to be everything, right?
Run everything.
Yeah, you have to be a CEO, you have to be a CTO, you have to be a COO, and you also have to be a coffee maker.
Exactly.
But that's what exciting about startup, and is actually what's kind of draw you back in is that freedom of choose things to work. You don't have a lot of responsibility at the you have a lot of responsibility, but it's a very different type of responsibility compared to a more corporate world. It's the main responsibility is bring the product out to market. And you have to do whatever you have to do that.
Can you share with the audience some tips that help you manage the overseas team successfully? So that you told me a lot. They got a lot of things done within the course of 12 months. Can you share with the audience some of the tips that you find that very effective?
Yes. So I think that first tip is you cannot have the team running by themselves. You have to always have world-class experience and world-class knowledge behind it. At Seaspace, we're lucky enough we have a bunch of those world-class people like in Dale, in Jerry, in Amory, also the one of the she joined the co-founding team in May last year. So we all also have a lot of knowledge coming from Silicon Valley, from Hollywood, bring back, and it's instant communication. We actually hear every month working with the team, right? So different people flying every month, working with the team. So its first tip is never let the team work on the project by themselves, because the cultural differences, the perception of what is the product is going to be very different. And so if you can manage that and in a way let all the experts, all the world experts, the international experts, lead the team from what it should be like, then you'll be fine, because they are great at the beginning. They're great implementer. Later on, when you get that process, good, you can actually let them have more freedom in terms of creating their own.
Let's pause a little bit. So you're saying that some of the founders they may fly over to Vietnam and spend some time with the team to guide them with the product development process.
Yes,
including you.
That's right. Yes, that's right. That's why I'm actually right now I'm in Hanoi.
Okay, gotcha. And but how was the time zone difference, and how does that affect your communication?
Yes, when you're in the US, the time zone different make your workday a lot longer. But as a startup at the early stage of startup, you expect to work, like 14, 16 hours a day anyway, right? So it's so I personally, and I'm still a young guy, so I don't really feel that as much. But it does create some problem in terms of the time zone, because you pretty much should be able to work with the team. You have to, you work in the US hour, then you work Vietnam hour, right? So pretty much that is it's a challenge. It's a challenge, but it's not a kind of you can overcome that challenge.
Now, as far as on the Vietnam side, are they well, I know that as far as technical, why they're competent. That's why you hire them. Besides technical expertise, is there anything else that you see it's a gap that may prevent them from fulfilling your project?
Honestly, I don't really see the gap. That's why I have I realize that I used to think that this is the gap, when I first starting out, back in the early 2000, when I was in Australia and then in the United States, I realized that the gap is not there if you really know how to manage a team with the experience I gained with Emotive when we start a team here in Vietnam, right? It started out with 4 persons. It's now in 2010. Now Emotive has over 80 people in Vietnam, right? So I think that that you'd be surprised from a technical point of view. There's not that many gaps because you see the people who work for Emotive who work for C-Space prior to join C-Space, they all work for different foreign company, Japanese company, Silicon Valley company. So there's always pocket of talent in the country with a lot of experience in a way, right? And also most of them graduate from Western university, so in the U.S., in the U.K., Cambridge, Stanford, all of those people they go to America study and then they go back, right? And they're really brilliant engineers that if you put the part of your experience and guide them and give them enough exposure, they're gonna be just as good as anywhere.
Gotcha. So the first tip you're saying that pair the technical team with the product owners, and they have very expertise in the products and guide them with the product development.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, what is the second one, if you have?
Yeah, the second one is that I think that you need to maintain a communication level. Like I said, it's not just about being on the phone, not about being on Skype. You have to be here physically, right? So what we're trying to do is every month, the team would have one of the co-founders here for a week, right? So that's our aim, and so far for the last year or so, it's worked perfectly well.
So mix between the combination of physical meetings and online meeting, so that you can build trust and build communication.
Yes, that's right. You have to, and I think that as a beginning, that's the a lot of the company trying to do a team in developing country like Vietnam, China. They don't realize that they thought that okay, just like the US, we can just get on Skype and everything's fine, right? And this is what I've learned from Emotive is non-conscious communication is super important. So being here is make a big difference for the team. They learn from talking to you, from gauging your kind of responses and things like that. So they kind of navigate their own way to know whether they're on the right path to the product or not.
What is one of your most proudest entrepreneurial moment that you experienced?
This is also the talk that I talk with a lot of young entrepreneurs starting out, is that why I keep coming back to startup, because you kind of addicted to that feelings. The first feeling that is actually happened back in my SaaSme day when we are the first in the world to SMS voting on television, right? And in 2000, and the previous year, Australia has done a very good job of getting about 400 votes over the phone for the best player of the years, and that was 4 times more than the previous year. We came in within the first hour, we got 30,000 messages, right?
Wow.
So compared to now, it's pretty much nothing, but. Yeah. Back then, it was like a huge success. The whole team was staring at we were sitting at the data center where our server is, and just make sure that everything goes smoothly. And everybody just look at all the monitor, and we have tears on our eyes, just see that it's just there's a feeling that that you actually know that you are right. You have a vision when nobody, when we first start out and talk about SMS, everyone was saying that, why do I need to go on the phone and press this 660 character for 5 minutes when I can just pick up the phone and say it for 5 seconds, right? So, and then you're telling people that, That's exactly my point. People don't want to pick up the phone. You know, there are things that people don't want to pick up the phone, and they just don't get it. And then it's you know the moment when you actually know that you are right, because before that happened, you still, you know, you believe that you're right, but it's you don't actually know that you are right or not, right? So that's probably one of the proudest moments. And then another proudest moment of mine is equally, you know, feeling is when we launched Emotive. When I step onto the very, you know, on Moscone Center on the very same stage that, you know, all the big world leader launched their product and has almost 1,000 of reporter from all of the big newspapers and television in the audience, right? With like hundreds of cameras flashing and start showing the technology. That's another the feeling that you will never forget.
That's awesome. That's the priceless moment that you can show your brainchild and stuff.
Absolutely, yes.
Share with your audience one of your personal habits that you believe contribute to your success.
Wow, ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know. I mean, you know, like I do everything by instinct. So I'm not very good with a habit thing. I don't really have a habit. So it's not like I have a ritual that define my success. I'll probably, if you say there's a ritual, there's coffee, right?
Making copies.
Yeah, I drank a lot of coffee. Yes, but I don't really have a pattern of work. You know, it's just, especially I think that is important for startup as well. Just don't develop a pattern because, you know, things change very
So very
fast.
fast. Yeah, gotcha. Do you have some internet resource like some tool that you use often and you in love with? You want to share with the audience?
Um, Keynote,
Keynote. There you go.
yeah, Keynote is definitely an awesome program. Yeah.
Keynote on iPad or on laptop?
Well, we do it on the Mac. Yeah.
On the Mac. Okay. So Keynote is your
Well,
go-to
for
program.
us, you know, we do everything in keynotes. You
Okay.
know, we do presentation in keynote. We do, you know, like the mock-up in keynote. You know, we sketch things out in keynote. So, yeah, that's probably one of my favorite tools.
Excellent. What is the number one book that you would recommend to Asian Success audience?
Yes. So this is a thing about me is that I don't read book.
You listen.
I read a lot though. Don't get me wrong. I read a lot. I just don't like book because again, it's all about the interactivity. Book is too passive. You know, I need information that I can reference. I can multitask straight away. So I spend a lot of time reading, just not book.
Gotcha. I really truly enjoy listening to Johnny and your story really is inspiring. Give Success Nation one parting piece of guidance and share the best way we can sign you and then we can say goodbye.
I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook. I'm bigger on Facebook than Twitter. So my Facebook is Namster.
Namster.
Yeah.
Excellent. And what is the parting piece of guidance that you would like to give it to Success Nation?
I really don't know. I mean, all I can do is share my story, and hopefully that you know is would get a lot of, because I think that, you know, from my background, born and raised in a country like Vietnam and going to you know, like Silicon Valley with the top of the world talents there and be able to actually navigate my way through a maze of Silicon Valley is actually hopefully that a lot of your audience will be able to see the similarity in what they will try to achieve, and hopefully that it will be able to inspire them to actually just go and you know, like make their dream come true.
Very well done. Thank you so much for being generous with your time and your expertise and your story, your experience. I really salute you on your journeys and best of luck with C Space.
All right. Okay. Thank you.